Coming up on this episode of Heal Squad.
And it just so happens that in 2026, there's a lot of planets ending cycles and a lot of brand new cycles beginning. Neptune in Aries is going to be a radical shift. This is like super rare, super meaningful, super important. It signals big shifts politically, big shifts in sort of the world order. We haven't experienced Neptune in Aries in any of our lifetimes.
Hello, Heal Squad. Who's ready for the new year? Well, I hope you are, because my guest, Aliza Kelly, just told us the very big things that have yet to happen in 2026 and which zodiac signs are stepping into the spotlight and are going to have the best year of their lives. Aliza is an author, columnist, celebrity astrologer. She's helped with both Drew Barrymore and Bella Hadid, helped them both navigate major life shifts. She's also the host of the podcast Horoscope Weekly, and I can't wait for you to hear what she has to say about feeling clear, aligned, and ready for the new year. But first, our quote of the day. Life is really short, really precious, and really bizarre. There's a lot of pain and trauma and tragedy, but there's also a lot of miracles and magic and joy. And that is from Aliza herself. Aliza, welcome to the Heal Squad.
That's so funny because I was like, wow, I love that. Who wrote that? I was like,
I
that
love it.
resonates with me very deeply.
It's
Thank you so
true.
much for having me here.
Oh, I'm so excited to do this with you. Well, I love getting to kind of hear predictions for the new year, but I also really love the idea of each of us and our zodiac signs and what that kind of means. So I guess let's start with what we can expect overall, and then we'll kind of dive into some of the other stuff.
Cool. So wait, first, I need to know, do you know your big three?
Yes. Stand by. I always have to look it up because I wrote it down. I'm all air and water, so astrology. I am a Gemini, Sun, Cancer, Moon, and rising Pisces.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Thanks.
This is going to be a big transitional year for you too, for all of our Pisces friends. You know, obviously you're a Gemini, but as a Pisces rising, that's a very strong signature for you. So anyone who has a Pisces sun, Pisces rising, Pisces moon, they're some of the biggest change makers in the year ahead.
Wow. Okay. Will you explain what that means?
Yeah, so 2026, I've been doing astrology for a long time, for many, many years, for many, many, anticipating the astrology of a year ahead for many years now. And it's very interesting to sort of understand the frequencies and the vibrations of each sort of Gregorian calendar year, because astrology doesn't care about whether it's 2026 or 1302. Like the planets are just doing whatever they're doing. And we are categorizing it into a 12-month period. So it's interesting to see when we look at a year, 12 months through this calendar system, what are the things that are happening? What are the primary energies? And it just so happens that in 2026, there's a lot of planets ending cycles and a lot of brand new cycles beginning. And that means that really all zodiac signs are going to be going through a metamorphosis, because when we close the book on one story and we open the book on another, we feel that. We go through a transformation in the themes in our life, in who we are involved in, how we show up in different situations. And I think that for a lot of us, having done this for so many years and, having done this work before the pandemic, during, after, I think a lot of us have felt either stuck or that we moved onto a timeline that didn't even feel like it was necessarily ours. Things shifted in ways where we're like, wait, I kind of like the plot changed so radically in 2020 that I'm not even sure if where I'm supposed to be. I think that 2026 broadly is going to help us all get back to what we're supposed to be doing. So that's really exciting.
Wow. When you say metamorphosis, that resonates so much because I have been feeling like the caterpillar suffering and struggling through, but I see it. Like I see that it's funny. I was just talking earlier. I'm like, I feel like I'm in this like transition and that things are about to change for the better in a big way.
Yeah. For our Pisces friends, I mean, just jumping right into it, because it's actually the first thing that happens in 2026 is Neptune, which is the planet of illusion and delusion. It's very creative, but it's very escapist. It's very weird. It's a weird planet, just in terms of sort of the experience that it yields. It's both a very deeply spiritual one and also like a very out of touch and disorienting one. And it's a distant planet, which means it has a very long orbit, which means it spends a long time in a zodiac sign. So Neptune has been in the sign of Pisces since 2011.
Wow.
And it's 14 years. It's an exceptionally long time. It's a chapter. It's for a lot of people, it's like a quarter of their life, or half of their life. If you, it's something that is really eats up a lot of our time and our experience, right? Wherever Neptune is. And because Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011, anyone with Pisces placements has been experiencing that Neptunian influence so personally, of lots of spiritual breakthroughs, lots of incredible sort of creative highs and beautiful expressions of spirit and artistry, but also lots of like confusion and things feeling like they just aren't where they're supposed to be and feeling like disoriented and that you questioning who you can trust, questioning what the right journey forward is. So people with Pisces placements have been feeling it. They have been feeling it at some points louder than others, depending on the degrees where their Pisces is in their chart. But everyone with Pisces placements has been on this roller coaster as guided through Neptune for the past 14 years. And at the end of January, one of the first major transits, the first major astrological happenings of 2026 is that Neptune changes signs once and for good, or at least for the next like 14 years, and it moves into
Hallelujah.
Aries. Yes,
So here's my question before we move on to like what that
sure.
means. When you say it was a period of creative, stuff and all, it sounded like all these good things. How can it be creative and also so painful and stifling? Because that's kind of like me just, categorizing it now in like a big way. But
Yeah, so Neptune is a really interesting archetype to consider. It's in Greek mythology, it's Poseidon. So it's associated with the ocean. It's associated with everything water related. From a spiritual, astrological perspective, water is associated with uh, sensitivity and creativity and intuition and big feelings around things, big existential feelings around things too. So when we are going through these big creative, existential, philosophical, spiritual transformations, there's obviously a lot of incredible growth that happens. We can tap into parts of our spirit, into parts of our artistry that perhaps weren't accessible before, or we felt like we couldn't really get to know. But at the same time, we are at the bottom of the ocean, right? There's a lot of grief, there's a lot of loss, there's a lot of isolation. There's an amazing astrologer named Bill Tierney who wrote a book on Neptune. And one of my favorite things about the way that he sort of personifies this energy is that Neptune is like the artsy emo kid who sometimes you go to, the class presentations and you're like, wow, someone made this, like someone made this collage. This is so stunning. But then this kid's also really struggling. They're struggling to make friends. They're struggling to keep up with the academics. They're struggling to actually figure out their place and their belonging. And just because you're an amazing artist and creative doesn't mean that you feel like the world sees you. And I
mm,
think that has been a lot of our Piscean Neptune experience is that we could be making amazing things, but we don't necessarily feel understood in those pursuits.
wow. Okay, so then the shift to Aries at the end of January, what does that bring?
So for everyone, and just to sort of back it up for a second, everyone has been feeling this Neptune and Pisces energy. It's just that certain signs, like Pisces itself, has been feeling it even more acutely. Neptune in Aries is going to be a radical shift. And Neptune has such a massive orbit that we haven't experienced Neptune and Aries in any of our lifetimes. The last time Neptune was in Aries was actually in the mid 1800s. It was actually corresponding exactly with the Civil War in the United States, which
Oh
is,
boy.
something to
Oh
something
no,
that
I just
we're
got
just
chills.
historians. We're just historians, right? Um,
Ugh.
Neptune is, as we said, it's illusion, it's delusion, it's creativity, but Aries is a fire sign. It's the first fire sign of the zodiac. It's impulsive, it's direct, it likes to jump before it thinks about things. It wants to take action, it'll deal with the consequences later. It's very much the sort of like ask for forgiveness, not permission spirit guide. So, Neptune moving into a fire sign, and not just any fire sign, but this like very rambunctious, youthful, childlike expression of fire and passion is going to be such a shift for all of us. And something that I have been saying, one of the ways that I've been defining this is very much of fighting for what you believe in is going to be the ethos around it. We're going to have plenty of years to work with this. We're going to have 14 years to get to know Neptune and Aries. Again, it hasn't happened in any of our lifetimes. So it's something we're all going to be learning in real time together. What does Neptune and Aries mean for the collective? How do we metabolize it individually? How do we take those Neptune and Pisces lessons and then convert them into Neptune and Aries action? But that's what we know is going to happen. We're going to build on everything that we have been uncovering for the past 14 years, and we're going to start to put it to work. We're going to start to say, no, this is actually what I believe in. These are my convictions, and this is what I want to, and I stand by these, right? So it's going to move us in from a more sort of isolating, dreamy, um, I distracted myself in thinking like some other really good examples, I think, of Neptune and Pisces is the fact that we've had this like big spiritual revolution in the past 14 years. I mean, you have your show all about wellness, right? I am an astrologer. I started that path basically right when Neptune went into Pisces in 2011. So there's been this incredible amount of interest in spirituality and wellness and how we take care of ourselves. But there's also been a lot of escapism. I think about, the opioid epidemic as something that definitely corresponds with Neptune and Pisces. I think about social media and the way that social media,
Mhm.
basically the way that we know it now, started in 2011. That's when so many of us got Instagram.
Yeah,
And
you're
it
right.
moved from being something that was a supplement to reality to being reality itself, right? Our life exists on social media now. So, what is real life? And I think that Neptune in Aries is going to help us remember what is real, what we care about, what we're passionate about. We're not going to be just like drinking the Kool-Aid and diluting our real life experience anymore. We want to live it.
Wow. Okay, so when you say Aries is a fire sign, I get scared. I am wondering where the good in all of that comes because you're like, oh, this is going to be so great. What's the good?
I think it's presence, it's passion, it's really standing up for yourself. It's standing up for Aries is very much associated with individuality, autonomy, being who you are, courage, bravery, confidence. And I think that it's going to feel like a shift in feeling like the emo kid who's making gorgeous collages but being misunderstood to being like, I actually I know my value and I know my worth and I don't need anyone to really get me in order for me to feel like I can keep going. I'm going to keep going no matter what. It's tenacity.
I love that. I think that it makes sense because my vibe lately has been like, okay, no limitations. Why have I been limiting myself? Why have I thought I can't do something or that I wasn't able to do something? Like, no, no, I was like, gloves are off in 2026. I'm going for it. And it's funny that you say that because it definitely feels like that to me.
Yes. I want to mention that 2025 energy, we had Neptune very briefly dip into Aries in 2025. The spirit of 2025 was a lot of things like we had a lot of planets sort of like dip a toe into change and then pull back out because they went retrograde. So we had a taste of what some of this is going to feel like, but then it was like, actually, never mind, too soon, not strong enough, I can't do it. In 2026, there's no pulling back. We're going for it. We're all in. And I
When
think that
was it in Aries before in 2025? Curious.
it was in Aries. It moved in at the end of March and it left at the very end of the summer. and
Mm,
move back into Pisces.
okay.
So that momentum that we started to build during that time ended up like a lot of us ended up getting cold feet. I've heard that experience from a lot of people. I definitely had that experience of like building up, ramping up, and then being like, actually, this is working. It's okay. And not following through with the ideas that we had midway through
Mm.
2025. But in 2026, we're back to those ideas. We're back to making it happen. We're back to the execution of it.
I'm thinking about stuff and I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. So does it mean we're not having a retrograde in 2026?
We are having a all planets go retrograde. Other than the sun and the moon, but those aren't planets in astrology, those are considered luminaries, but all celestial bodies, with the exception of those, go retrograde. So we know about Mercury retrograde, obviously. That's one of the most, I always say that like Mercury retrograde has like Kris Jenner on their PR team or something because it gets so much airplay. But all planets, Neptune, Saturn, Jupiter, everyone goes retrograde. It's a normal part of every planetary body's orbit.
Okay.
It's just that Neptune is going to go further into the sign of Aries so that when it goes retrograde, it doesn't retrograde back into Pisces.
Wow. Okay, so for Pisces in 2026, what should they expect in terms of the different feeling? They're just going to go for it.
Yeah, and it's going to be a beginning, new beginnings.
Okay.
Every sign is going to experience endings and beginnings in 2026.
And so
Um,
are there other signs that should be paying attention to anything in the new year that is going to be loud?
Well, certainly Aries,
Mhm.
because Neptune and Saturn in February are moving into Aries. So we also in February, Saturn, which is the planet of responsibilities, and Neptune, which is we've talked about illusion and delusion, are forming an aspect called a conjunction, which hasn't happened since 1989. It hasn't happened in 36 years. It's a very, very big deal. This is the type of astrology that astrologers really like salivate over because we're like, oh my gosh, like this is such a rare thing to happen. They actually haven't been connected in Aries since 1703. So this is like super rare, super meaningful, super important. And what we have seen with these 36-year cycles is it signals big shifts politically, big shifts in sort of the world order. In 1989 was when the Berlin Wall fell. So that is a huge thing to point to for associated with the Saturn and Neptune conjunction. But on a personal level as well, a Saturn and Neptune conjunction, but in the sign of Aries at 0 degrees of Aries at the beginning of the zodiac point, really is like, okay, we have a before and after around that. This is a new life that we all have the opportunity to step into. So coming into that, in these weeks that lead up to this point, I think that taking inventory of what's working, what isn't working, are you happy with the way that your life is structured? What do you want to change about it? We all have things we want to adjust or we want to expand on, right? And getting very clear on those is going to help us prepare for this Saturn and Neptune conjunction because I'm a firm believer of the fact that these these changes can work for you as long as you know that they're coming and how to work with them. So in this case, it's about starting something new. Mid-February would be an amazing time to launch a new project. Mid-February would be an amazing time to take a big risk on something, to try something that you have never endeavored before. And especially if that thing was something that you felt insecure or that you felt like you were unqualified for, like Saturn and Neptune meeting in Aries, nobody cares, just do it, start and see what happens. And that's the ethos of this energy.
I love that. What about resolutions for the new year? What do you think of those?
Like I feel like resolutions are they're a little 80s, they're a little passe. I like intention setting. I think intention setting has a little bit more purpose driven around it. I love gratitude work. I think gratitude work is more important than anything else. And when I say gratitude work, I really mean figuring out what are you grateful for and finding that energy in your body so that you can bring more of that spirit into your life. Another thing that I love to do is instead of thinking in terms of, what is already out there, right? Like especially for folks who are thinking about a career change or a new job or something, where they're like, "Oh, I want to be a this." Instead of trying to make intentions around a certain title, think about the types of energy you want to have in your life. Do you want to have the energy of leadership? Do you want to have the energy of respect, of discovery, of philosophy? Do you want to have the energy of freedom, of independence? And to think more about how the terms that would describe your ideal life, rather than feel like you have to be boxed into, I'm going to be a blank, because that's not, you could be a blank and then be very unhappy with the way that that actually ends up looking and feeling. So finding the energy is going to be a better guide for what actually works for you and what you want to build on.
I love that. All right, Heal Squad, we're going to stop right here, but Aliza is going to be back tomorrow and she's going to tell us her biggest predictions for 2026. And it's definitely happening in the health and wellness space, which is pretty cool. And also, will it be the end of social media? Fina freaking Lee. Listen tomorrow and find out. In the meantime, be nice people, make good choices, and be present. Hey, Heal Squad. We have been on quite the journey together, and we're hearing from so many of you just how much this show is helping you heal and get better, and it makes us feel so good. We love, love, love it, and we just ask that you don't keep it to yourself. Spread the message and share the show or your favorite episode with your friends. And if you want to help us even more, you can leave us a 5-star rating and a comment on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and follow us on Instagram at Heal Squad. You can also DM us anytime because we love connecting with you. And finally, you can also join us on Patreon for our monthly live heal events with world-class healers and ad-free episodes exclusive only to Patreon and our Super Heal Squad for as little as $10 a month. So go to patreon.com/Heal Squad to join. Getting better isn't easy, friends, but as I say all the time, it's a whole lot easier if we can do it together. We love you all so much, and we love doing this thing called life with you.
This podcast and all related content published or distributed by or on behalf of Maria Menounos or mariamenounos.com is for informational purposes only and may include information that is general in nature and that is not specific to you. Any information or opinions expressed or contained herein are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice, nor to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury, and you should consult the healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health, including before beginning any exercise, weight loss, or healthcare program. If you have or suspect you may have a healthcare emergency, please contact a qualified healthcare professional for treatment. Any information or opinions provided by a guest expert or host featured within website or on company's podcast are their own, not those of Maria Menounos or the company. Accordingly, Maria Menounos and the company cannot be responsible for any results or consequences or actions you may take based on information or opinions.